Hello everyone and welcome to Ashoka IS Academy. Today's video is the second video of our Prelims short series, and in today's video we will discuss about the peasant revolts and the political organization in British occupied Assam. It is one of the most important topics of Assam history from the prelims point of view. So let's start with the video. The period of peasant revolts. From 1860s to 1890s, this particular period is known as the period of peasant revolts in Assam. What were the causes of the revolt? To understand that, let us look into the background. The revolt of 1857 took a serious toll on the economic condition of the British government. The deficit budget rose to 14 million pounds, and in order to make up for the deficit, the British government began to make changes. The change which they made was the taxation system was changed. That means that taxes were increased and the burden of which fell on the Indian masses, upon the Indian common people, upon the Indian peasants. And a lot of additional taxes were implied. In Assam, when the Britishers came in 1826, the common people had initially welcomed the British rule because they thought that the Britishers would bring stability into their lives. They had this particular notion. However, from 1860s we see that the suffering of the peasants increased, and they finally realized the true nature of the British rule, and hence they revolted. What were the additional taxes which were implied? Between 1874 and 1870, there was a 100% raise in taxes. A lot of additional taxes like stamp duties, income tax, license tax and grazing tax were introduced, and those kind of taxes were absent during the time of the Ahom monarchy. The government also did not take any steps for the development of agriculture, and taxes were not exempted even during the time of natural disasters, epidemics or famines. On one hand, the government were increasing the taxes, whereas on the other hand, they didn't take any steps for the development of agriculture. So the agriculture production was going low, whereas the taxes were increasing. So the peasants were unable to pay. So in retaliation, from the middle of the 19th century, we see a series of revolts began in Assam and the northeastern areas. So we will discuss the most important ones, and we will see the things that we have to focus upon from those revolts, the things which are actually important from the prelims point of view. Let us start with the first revolt, that is the Jayantia rebellion, which took place in 1860. The Jayantia rebellion was the first peasant uprising against the British rule in Northeast. This was the first revolt, peasant revolt against the Britishers in Northeast. The causes of the revolt were three additional taxes. In the Jayantia hills, the British had introduced three new taxes: house tax, stamp duty and license tax. The people revolted against those particular taxes. However, the revolt was suppressed in 1863. The next revolt was the Phulogri uprising of 1861. It is one of the most important revolts which took place in Assam. This was the first uprising in Assam. The Jayantia rebellion was the first peasant uprising in Northeast. The Phulogri uprising was the first uprising in Assam. Let us look into the causes of the revolt. The local people of Phulogri largely comprised of the Tiwa ethnic community, and their main source of income was commercial cultivation of poppy. The image that I have given you here, this is an image of the poppy flower. From the poppy seeds, opium is made. Opium is an intoxicating drug. So the Tiwa people of Phulogri, they earned their livelihood by cultivating poppy and by making opium. In 1860s, the British government decided to completely ban the cultivation of poppy. So, this was a direct threat for the livelihood of the Tiwa people. And in addition to that, the British government also decided to tax Tamul Pan. From now onwards, they will take taxes upon Tamul Pan. And this hurt the cultural sentiments of the people, because Tamul Pan is an integral part of Assamese culture. So, how will the people react? Let us look into the events which took place during the revolt. On 17th September 1861, more than 1500 peasants organized a rice mill to oppose the decision of the government. The deputy commissioner during that time was Herbert Scones. He was the deputy commissioner of Nagaon. He didn't pay any heed to their demands. He made no efforts to hear about the sufferings of the peasants, and he misbehaved with the public. So, after 1 month, on 18 October, we see the number of people increases. On 18th October, around 4,000 people gathered to protest against the ban which was imposed on poppy cultivation and the tax which was imposed on Tamul Pan. This time, the protesters came with sticks, and upon saying this, Herbert Scones realized the gravity of the situation. He sent his assistant commissioner, Lieutenant Singer, to talk with the protesters. However, Singer also made the same mistake which was done by Herbert Scones on 17th September 1861. Rather than hearing about the grievings, about the sufferings of the people, he became aggressive and he ordered the people to leave. He also threatened them of a lathi charge. So, in all the commotion, the people got really agitated by the behavior of Singer, and in all the commotion, a fisherman named Babu Koibotto, he struck Singer on the head with a stick. Singer died on the spot and his body was thrown into the Kolong River. And after this incident, Lokhon Deka, Songbor Lalung and Rongbor Deka were given death sentences. So this event in history is known as the Phuloguri Dhawa, which took place in 1861. Now let us look into the next peasant revolt, that is the peasant revolt of Lasima, which took place in 1894. How this revolt took place? On 21st February, Dasuram Chaudhary, he was the Mozadar of Kapla, and his Mondal Holiram were badly beaten by the peasants. Why they were beaten? Because they had went out to collect revenue. The people were already angered at the increase of revenue, and when those two guys, they went to collect revenue, they were badly beaten by the people. And the Mojadar died within a few days. 75 people were arrested and 2 years rigorous punishments were given to Pusparam Kalita, Devi Datta, Jayanti Bej, Nirbhaya Kalita and Monglu Kalita. This is the peasant revolt of Lasima, which took place in 1894. Now we come to another revolt, which is the peasant revolt of Pothorughat, 1894. Pothorughat is a place in Dorong district. So why this revolt took place? This revolt took place in January 1894. This is another peasant revolt. Why they protested? They protested against the increased revenue collection. Deputy Commissioner of Dorong was J.D. Anderson, and he arrived in Pothorughat on 27 January. He confiscated the properties of peasants who had refused to pay revenue. See, the peasants were protesting against the increased revenue collection, right? They were demanding that revenue should be decreased, otherwise we won't be able to pay. Now the deputy commissioner went there and rather than decreasing their revenue, he told them that those who are unable to pay, your properties will be confiscated. So this agitated the people. This thing that he did really agitated the people, and they marched towards the British rest camp. Alright, the British police, they opened fire upon the protesters, and according to unofficial records, 140 people were killed and 150 were injured. However, according to the British official records, 15 people died and 37 were injured. This image that I have given here, this is an image of a memorial which is constructed in Pothoru in memory of the event, in memory of the people who lost their lives on January 1894. This event is also known in history as Pothoru Run. Pothoru Run. Now, these are the most important peasant revolts that we have to focus upon from the prelims point of view. However, what are the things that we have to focus more? In each of the revolts, you have to remember the timeline. When exactly did it take place? Those things are not so important. The causes of the revolts are not so important. From Jaintia rebellion, Fulogiri uprising, the cause is important, the opium cause is important, and the year is important. The dates, I have given you two dates here, right? 17th September in 1861. The 18th October date is important because on this particular date the actual event took place. This 17th September date is not so important, you don't have to remember it by heart. I am giving you the date here just to understand the story. Alright, 18 October, this date you have to remember because on this particular date the event took place, and you have to remember the name of the assistant commissioner, Lieutenant Singer, because the question may be directly asked, who was killed during the Fulogiri Dhaba. Alright. Now, regarding the peasant revolt of Lasima, you have to remember the name of Dasuram Chaudhary and Mondol Holiram because Dasuram Chaudhary was killed. You don't have to remember the names of the people who were given 2 years rigorous punishment. This question will not be asked. Alright. Regarding the peasant revolt of Pothoru, you have to focus on the year in which way it took place. Deputy Commissioner's name you have to remember, and those things will not be asked. How many people were killed, according to unofficial record, official record, how many people were killed, those things will never be asked in the examinations. The date will be asked, it may be asked, and you have to remember the district where Pothoru is located. It is located in Dorong district. Alright, now we will look into some political associations of Assam. The things that you have to focus on, you will have to focus on the year. Please focus on the years it was formed and the founders. The founders are very much important from the political associations. The founders, the first secretaries and the first presidents are very important from the prelims point of view. Now let us look into the most important political associations which were formed in Assam. Ohomia Bhasha Unnoti Khadini Sabha. This particular association was formed in 1888, and the most significant contribution of the Sabha was the publication of their journal Junaki. This journal is very important because with the publication of this journal, a new era started in Assamese literature which was known as Junaki era. Now there is a question for you guys. Alright, please give the answer in the comment section. In Assamese literature, how many eras are there? How many eras are there in the Assamese literature? Alright, now let us look into the next association, that is the Jorhat Sarvajanik Sabha. Founder of this association was Jagannath Barua. By the name itself, we can easily assume that it was formed in Jorhat. The founder president of this Sabha was Raja Naranayan Singha, and Jagannath Barua was the first secretary. Next important association is the Ahom Sabha. It was formed in 1893 by Padmanath Gohai Barua. First session of this Sabha was held in Sibsagar in 1893, and the initial campaign of this Sabha was anti-opium campaign. This thing is very important. Initially, the Ahom Sabha, it was not a political association, it was primarily directed against opium campaign, anti-opium campaign, but later it indulged itself in political activities. Now we come to the first student association of Assam, Assam Chhatra Sanmilan. It was formed in December 1916 and the founder was Lakshminath Desbarua. First session was held in Guwahati. First president and the first founder were the same. First president was Lakshminath Desbarua and the first secretary was Chandranath Sharma. Then we come to Assam Association. It was formed in 1903. The founder was Manik Chandra Borua. First session is very important of Assam Association. In 1905, the first session was held in Dibrugarh and the first president was Raja Prabhat Chandra Borua. Jagannath Borua was the first vice president. Manik Chandra Borua was the first general secretary. The next important association is the Assam Provincial Congress Committee. In 1920 Congress session, Nagpur session, Congress made certain changes. One of the changes was they thought of or they decided of establishing Congress committees on the basis of language. So, by adhering to that decision, in 1921, Assam Provincial Congress Committee was formed. This is very important. Kuladhar Soliha was the first temporary president and the first officially elected president was Listoram Medhi. So those are the most important political associations that you have to focus on from the prelims point of view. You have to remember the formation year, the founders, the first presidents and the first secretaries. Alright. So a little bit of information. So as the APSC prelims is approaching, we are conducting online mock test series which is held every Saturday and Sunday. For free registration, the link is given here below, or you can call any of those numbers for further details. That's all for today's video. Stay tuned for the next upcoming videos of the prelim test series. Thank you.